Yeah, that's I love this object because it's just got so much about it. I think what really sort of hit me when I saw it was that, you know, it's a very heavy, it's a bit of an ivory tusk, but it's been intricately carved with all these different figures, and they're walking in procession, you know, around this tusk, and we see all different sorts of people. We see obviously a group of Africans walking in procession, but then we've also got, I'm not sure, I think to me they look like sort of European figures, almost caricatured with the hats and the kind of pot belly and sort of the trousers. But then you've also got things like there's a monkey here. So I mean, I don't know an awful lot about these objects. I kind of know broadly a bit about this sort of thing, and this would have been produced in West Africa. So we're looking at possibly the Congo region, and somebody would have carved these. Now this is not one of the really early tusks that was produced from the Renaissance period onwards, sort of, and they were called Afro-Portuguese ivories, and this isn't one of them, but really, really early examples of these would have been amongst the first goods that were traded between West Africa and Europe, and particularly between the Portuguese and the Africans, and that was sort of the earliest trade contact. So ivory was traded in return for manufactured goods. But this one, from what I understand, that these particular sorts of tusks were made a lot later. So we're talking about, you know, the 19th century. But I just love this one just because of the imagery. But it's also really interesting because of the raw material, if you like, the kind of the ivory and as a trade good.
So when you said that this is a later example, what was the time period around when that first started, when they were going?
Well, going back, the trade between European merchants and West African craftsmen goes back to at least, you know, the Renaissance. So we're talking about the 16th century, and those pieces are particularly interesting because they show a kind of hybridity between the demands of the Europeans wanting things like salt cellars and carved spoons, so almost in a kind of European tradition, but then they incorporate African imagery and symbols. So there's this kind of network of exchange, but also sort of African craftsmen adapting to the demands of the European trades people as well, and thinking around the context in which that exchange is happening. You know, goods are being transferred, so there was a demand for things like pepper and spices, and of course, you know, around that period, and particularly later on, it's the human commodities and goods that were exchanged. So
yeah. And looking at, I mean, if I were to see something like this in a case, it wouldn't be obvious to me the huge trade networks that would have resulted in something like this coming to be here, you know, thinking about all the different things that were being exchanged back and forth. That just wouldn't be obvious, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And just the craftsmanship that's gone into this and all the images, I'd love to know, you know, the actual circumstances in which the carver sat down and depicted these people, and what people thought of it when they traded it and when it came back. So yeah, it's a fascinating one.
Yeah. Okay. And it is really heavy. It's really kind of surprising to feel the weight of it.